hook 'em with the fancy people, right, Joe? Hey you guys, happy Wednesday. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Monday night, people were losing their minds over the Met Gala. I'm sure you've probably caught wind of it, at least a little bit here or there. The Met Gala theme this year was called Heavenly Bodies, Fashion, and the Catholic Imagination. And a lot of people in the world had stuff to say about it. A lot of people in the church had stuff to say about it. I found myself experiencing two different primary feelings while this was all unfolding. On the one hand, I was a little bit bothered by Catholics who were so quick to become defensive and feel so offended by the world's use of Catholic art, because the church isn't our own. It's not something we claim and keep to ourselves. It's an eternal kingdom which the world has been invited to die for. The entire world is called to that. At the same time, I found myself a little bit bothered also by the celebrities and artists who had taken Catholic art and reduced it to nothing more than just cultural artifacts, just kind of these cute little things that this group of people that believe these things created. And that bothered me because, again, this art isn't just part of a culture, it exists for the sake of an eternal kingdom which the world has been called and invited to die for. So art exists really to create some kind of encounter with beauty. And as Catholics, we know that the true source of beauty, that all beauty comes first from God himself. So in that sense, we as Catholics know that the truest, most pure, objectively good art in some way is going to create an encounter with beauty, and indirectly or very directly maybe an encounter with God, the source of that beauty itself. Therefore, the most objectively good art is art that orients our minds and hearts towards God in some direct or indirect way. That's not to say that all art has to be about God, or that it has to be Catholic, or that it has to be religious, but it is saying that art does retain that beauty that is found in God first, and that beauty has to retain some sense of order. And that means that it orders us towards worship of God, not worship of man or created things. Fashion is definitely a viable form of art, and there are ways, I would argue, that at the Met Gala, that art was used to facilitate an encounter with beauty and facilitate an encounter with God in some level, in some way. But that said, I think there were also cheap distortions of art, where what should have inspired an encounter with beauty and an orientation of our minds and hearts to something greater than ourselves, what was passed off as art was simply created or worn or shown off to glorify a person or an idea, or really just to exist for the sake of controversy and discussion. When that happens, then art becomes less than what it should be, because it's no longer about an encounter with beauty, and it's no longer about an indirect or direct encounter with the divine, with God. Instead, it becomes this inwardly focused thing where we're looking at ourselves, where we're looking at other created people, at other created things, and that right order of worship of God, the true source of beauty, becomes distorted, and so art loses some of its objective goodness. This week, I want to challenge you, and I'm going to challenge myself as well, to consider where objectively good art happened at the Met Gala, where we saw things on display that really did facilitate an encounter for the world with beauty and facilitated in some sense an encounter with God. I think that that definitely happened, and I do believe that God can use events like the Met Gala to draw souls closer to his heart, closer to his beauty, and closer to himself. But that doesn't mean that everything that took place at the event was good or for his glory. If you have any other thoughts about the Met Gala, who was there, what people were wearing, Shawn Mendes being the Gentleman of the Year, comment below. I would love to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching this week. I will see you all next week on Real Talk. The theme for it this year was Heavenly Bodies. The theme for it this year was Heavenly Bodies, Catholic. The theme for it... Why is my brain not working?